What's up? Today we are going to talk about how to remove risk from your outbound marketing campaigns. So giving yourself a better shot at success, even if it's your first go round. I'm Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesbread.com.
And I'm Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
Mail.
Quickmail.io.
Say that 10 times fast. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's this question comes up a lot during any kickoff meeting with a new client. And frankly, a lot of people just asking for advice on outbound. So my first objective for those calls is like, let's figure out where the risks and assumptions lie and work backwards a little bit to remove as much risk as possible so that your very first month, even your very first week, is a success. And I just sort of want to spill what I've seen helpful on my side, and Jeremy, hopefully you can do the same, and
I got 7 points actually to help you think about your campaign.
I bet there's probably more than 7. Do you want to talk about like the scope for this before we just dive in?
That's right. Actually, the first point is like, what do we define as a risk? So for me, it's very simple. It's a bad return on investment, whether it's time you're losing, whether it's money, whether it's opportunity cost. That's for me what makes it a big risk. What about you, Jack?
Yeah. So for my clients, the biggest is the opportunity cost of wasting time on a campaign that they could have spent on a winning campaign.
Yep.
So it's not as much money and resources. It is, but mostly they've got investors that are expecting returns. They've got a product that they're trying to beat competition to the marketplace. So for me, I think it's time is number one, cost is number two. But just before we really get into this cast here, we have to do our pitches, dude.
Yeah.
I'll kick it off. So most B2B companies lack the time and expertise to turn cold prospects into warm leads. At salesbread.com, we generate a lead or booked appointment per day by sending ultra personalized LinkedIn messages and cold emails. So if you want to find out more, go to salesbread.com/contact, get in touch. I'll share what's working.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Jack. So do take the opportunity. I'm not sure how long he will still do it, but
just a contact form is cool now.
Oh, okay.
If it makes sense, we could talk later.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on my side, for those who don't know, Quickmail.io is an awesome software when it comes to do outreach by email. So definitely, if email is one of your main channel, I think you should definitely give us a go. Plus, we got the auto warmer, which helps you land in the inbox of your prospect rather than the spam folder. So give it a go. It's free as well, the auto warmer. So there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, pretty much if you have less than 80% open rate, you definitely need yourself that free auto warmer as a minimum there. So great stuff. All right, so let's do this, Jeremy. So we were talking about what scope, defining risk here. It's basically time and money, right?
And opportunity cost, right?
Okay, so
how do I remove the biggest risk then, Jack? What do you usually say to clients engaging with you? What do you say like the biggest risk or the easiest way to remove those risks?
So if you've been a long time listener to the show, if you can remember yes, if you can remember some of those 200 odd episodes, you're going to know that I believe list is far more important than copy and frankly, anything else you're doing in outbound marketing, lead generation. So my tip number one here starts with making sure your risk is correct. So I'll give you a common scenario. Ask a founder, okay, so who should we target here? Yeah, I think we do pretty good with automotive companies and we've got a lot of hardware providers there. Let's go after them. But the problem is so much of the campaign success and so much of the campaign's risk lies within those 10 words that the founder just said. So I've stopped actually presenting that question to teams. And instead, we might touch on it briefly, but I'm going to say, in order to answer this question fully, can you please send me the list of some recent customers and clients that came in? Hopefully you've got a few dozen. If you are working with a more mature company, you've got a couple hundred, maybe even 1,000. That's amazing. That's pure firepower that you can use to remove the risk in choosing the wrong prospects, which I think if a campaign fails, more than half the time, it's because you went after the wrong people. Would you agree?
Well, out of my 7 points, as you were saying that, because, in the space, you're like the mountain lion, of the space.
I like that. Yeah.
I looked at the 7 points that I had, and 5 of them are, specifically tied to list. So yeah, I can't, agree more.
So what else do you have regarding list?
Well, I have the market to some extent. Yeah. Like, for example, can you contact them by email? Like, are they contactable by email? Because you could be until now, just spending your time on the phone, and that could be one that doesn't react very well. And also some tricks to sort of like push people to engage faster, so you can know faster if your campaign is working or not. Like a typical example would be, instead of waiting 3 days to send a follow-up, just try 1 day. Just do like ultra fast starting campaigns in order to figure out very quickly, like, do I at least get some replies? Like, do I hit a nerve here, or is like, no one cares?
Correct.
So if you keep on, accelerating your, hey, maybe we could coin a word here, blitz campaign.
There you go.
Is that good? Is that not good? I'm not sure. But
okay.
Anyway, yeah, you like it? Okay, so if you do like your blitz campaign, then you're gonna know faster, and so less opportunity loss if you're going after the wrong people, or could be a good way.
Yeah, that's a good point. So speeding up the learning process here. I want to go back to making sure that you're targeting the right customers, because there may be a listener who's saying, okay, well, great, I can look at the data, but how do I really know that I'm going to be targeting the right people? And maybe you can weigh in on this, but my advice is to break down the list. So take the customers that have come in the door recently. Again, you want more than 10 to 1,000 if you're lucky enough to have that many new customers. But it's important to try and look at common denominators out of all of the paying customers, and don't look at trials. You need to look at paying customers. What do they have in common there? And some easy ones would be, what industries are they in? Go deeper than whatever you see on Sales Nav, because as we've mentioned before, if there's like a fitness app out there, they may label themselves as computer software, internet, health and fitness, wellness. They don't know. My suggestion, see what Crunchbase labels them as, because they do a little bit more careful job with industry. So industry, I like size, and definitely I want to know the decision maker. Were they in marketing? Were they founder? That way, if you should be reaching out to marketers or CEOs or that kind of thing. Those are good, like, basic building blocks to find out those common denominators.
Yeah, another point to build on this one is that very often people have multiple personas. It's just like, it's hard to find, like, no, we only serve one persona. Realistically speaking, you're going to have multiple segments, like different persona that use your software for sort of, satisfying different needs, different jobs. And I would say, go after the one that brings you the most money. In fact, this is what happened also for QuickMail. We go after a certain segment because we know this segment resonates better and then brings more money. So why would you actually just go for the small segment that brings, less money? And
I'm glad you brought this up, because one of my notes here says target more than one segment in order to remove some risk, right?
And you can do it in parallel, honestly.
You definitely can. So think about this. It's the old expression, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you go after one segment, you're assuming that, yes, they may pay you the most, but you're also assuming that these people are reachable via email. These people will resonate with your copy. You may miss on the messaging side, which is a secondary problem, because that's a lot easier to fix than who should we target in my book. But if you go after two different segments, you're going to divide the risk a little bit. So how do you know which segments to pick? To piggyback on your point, Jeremy, obviously we're going to go with the tried and true segment that's going to pay you the most money. That's number one. Don't touch it. But number two, take a look at the second most common pattern among your paying customers. Go after them. So this is something I've been seeing a lot lately. So someone will come to us and say, look, Jack, we've got kind of two products. One is a long sale. It goes after enterprise and it's, $50K a year. Another one is a slight spinoff. It goes after mid-market and it's about $2K, $1K a month or something. So we'll just run two campaigns, like going after whales and smaller fishes, knowing that there's a little bit more room for error if we go after two different segments with two different messages. To me, it's a really important way to hedge your bets and remove some risk.
Yeah, that's very well said. What else you got on your list, Jack?
We need to talk about math. We touched on it briefly, but there's some basic, say, middle school math that I do in order to figure out if the segment is really worth it. So you need, two numbers, more or less two numbers, right? What's your close rate and what's your LTV, your lifetime value? And if you knew those two numbers, you can put a value per segment. So you might say that, I don't know, if you find yourself with two different products, just really look at actual data. So open your Stripe account or look at your PayPal invoices or whatever. You want to know with some pretty good accuracy in each campaign, how much do you make in the lifetime of that client? So you got to take into account for churn and whatnot. And you also need to think back on your close rate. So if you know those two numbers, you multiply them together and you can kind of say, look, if I sent you 10 leads, how much money are you going to be making at the end of the day from that? And that's a really important question to answer because to me, that will very quickly tell you if outbound is a good idea. So if that number is peanuts, forget outbound because it does require a lot of hand holding and like one-to-one selling. But if it's north of, let's say 1K, then it's pretty easy to justify having a real outbound process. And for close rate, I've got on my notes here, make sure it's better than 10%. That just tells me you've got a sales process in place. You've got some data, that you've got a track record that will help me say, okay, so this may not be a mature product, but at least you know that, you dump in so many sales qualified leads, you'll spit out this much revenue over time.
And when you say 1K, you say 1K per month, right? In terms of recurring revenue, or that, because just a one sale 1K,
so
the limit, right?
And that is the lower limit there. I mean, those are like not super exciting numbers. If your close rate 1 out of 10 and you're only making $1,000, that's kind of, I wouldn't consider outbound for anything less than that. Unless you're going after partnership campaigns or you're going after like VIPs who can introduce you to a lot bigger. But that middle school math, I think, will help you rank different segments to go after. And it's really important because sometimes things break down once you ask, like, what's your close rate? Someone says, I don't really know. I've never sold this thing before. Forget it. It's way too damn risky. Don't do outbound. It's not a good idea right now. A lot of the, helpful answers come about asking yourself those two questions.
Yeah. Another thing I got on my list is one of the risks that people run into is burning their lead too fast. So I would say start with a small number instead of betting everything on one horse. What do you think of that?
So I'm a fan of putting a limit on something, especially if this is a brand new company or brand new product. I would say take a limited number of prospects so that you don't burn through your list and verify that you can actually generate leads and close those leads before you ramp things up, whatever ramping up means to you. I think that's an awesome idea. Take a small chunk of the market and do some tests on them to verify that this kind of thing works before you burn through, because maybe we can address some of the problems that might be going on there. Well, there's obviously list, copy could be off. Anything else you see, Jeremy, that would account for a poor campaign?
Yes, but we'll probably spend the whole night here, so we should probably move on.
Good point.
Can I go to a few points on my list and then you stop me?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a way to remove risks, other ways to remove risk. I think, obviously Jack mentioned the list, which is super important. So I'm going to mention some of the things that are very related. One of them is try to use referrals. Like the type of campaigns as well could minimize the risk. Instead of going straight away for like brand new users or brand new clients, just try to contact your existing clients to introduce you to some referrals, right? So that could be an easy way to start a campaign and reduce your marketing risk. Another one will be to re-engage past clients. After all, they bought once from you, you had a relationship with them. It could be a simple campaign such as like, hey, it's been a long time since last time you used your software. I was wondering, what you're up to, or if this is still, if you manage to solve the problem for good, or if you still need, that depends on your product, obviously. But that could be a good thing to re-engage past one. And the last one I would say is try to go one step beyond my persona, but also potentially some people who raise their hands. It's like the racking your shotgun stuff. So it could be
very good.
Basically grabbing people based on signals rather than actually, just based on their profile. So
it's like low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. And that's what you want really in order to minimize risk. It's unlikely. Well, it's not unlikely, but sometime if you're starting this new email growth channel, you're going to want to show some results. You're going to want to show like we can get some stuff going on with that. We just need a little bit more time. It's much easier to say like, hey, well, it's been proven it works with this segment. Can we try another segment?
Sure.
It's going to go better. Reduce also the risk for the person doing the outbound as well, I think.
It's very true. So I'll add one more campaign idea since you gave a couple great ones there. Instead of just trying to go after the market themselves, I'm seeing a lot of partnership campaigns that are tend to be pretty fruitful here. And that's where you'd reach out to people. These are sort of like our VIPs. They already have access to the group. But what's kind of important is they don't necessarily need to be internet personas or influencers. They could just be providing a sister service, something that doesn't compete, but their clients could use it as well, right? And even better, if using one service means they probably are more likely to use another, that's who you'd want to target. And the nice thing is partnership campaigns are really easy to get a reply. I mean, especially if the message is like, look, I think we can refer some clients to one another. Let's hop on a quick call. I want to hear what you're doing about X. You're going to get a really good response to that. It works. I mean, it's like, I don't know, imagine there's a sign where someone says, I'm looking to buy a lot of artichokes. If you say, well, hey, I got some artichokes, let's have a call. I mean, it's not that easy, but it's pretty reliable when it comes to reducing a little bit of risk up front here. Yeah, I think we covered some good bases here. I can do a quick recap unless you have any more notes on your side.
I have a last one that I could put out of my non-existent sleeves. But I would say, I don't usually give that as an advice, but I would say, check out what the competition is doing. Like, is it a viable channel for your competition? It's harder, obviously, to know if they're doing it, but sometimes you get some word of mouth or existing clients hear about that. Is that really working or not? That could be. Sometimes it can. Or use your competition as part of your email. So because their clients or them. If you have a killer feature that undermine the other product, why not?
Yeah, that's well said. So I know this is black hat, but if you do want to pick up your clients' sales messages, you could create a fake persona that sort of just fishes for those kinds of sales messages, right?
Well, I did a food experiment, actually, more than a food experiment.
Oh, I should follow that up with, I've never done something like this. I have heard others
Ask me for a friend.
mentioned about this, but
no, I didn't do something like that. But what I did was actually at some moment did an experiment and changing our quick mail profile page on LinkedIn up to like 200, employees and more, instead of like the 1 to 50 or something like that.
Right.
In order to see if I will get like different, cold outreach. I also changed my, well, you'd be surprised, not that many. Okay. And I don't think it changed anything, honestly.
Nothing.
So it could be interesting. The other thing is I changed my title as well. One didn't have like founder in it. The other one did have founder. I did get more cold outreach by, adding that makes sense. An easy keyword,
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, what do they call those honeypots, right? Like spam filters will put out that's all it is. And it's black hat. Don't do it. But just as a thought, that is one way that others have. Shame on them for being black hat. Okay, cool. Well, let's do a recap then. So to reduce risk, you're going to want to take a really good hard look at who's paid in the past so that you can find lookalike customers. Jeremy mentioned go after the most profitable segment, but also throw in one other good idea segment to hedge your bets, not to put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure your math is adding up, or it should be black and white. This is a good idea. You're making substantial money from leads. Calculate your close rate, know your lifetime value. Jeremy, what else you got that I didn't cover?
Start small, not to burn all your leads in one go.
And the go for low hanging fruit. That was another good one.
And do faster campaign to get results faster, and don't spend like too much time.
Well said. If you like this kind of thing, Jeremy and I have a course on cold email outreach that you will dig. It's at course.quickmail.io. And it's the part 2 of the podcast where we just take this and go a whole lot more granular so that you can have more success and probably remove even more risk from the outbound campaign. So
that's right.
Check it out.
That's our number one, risk removal. Just of course. Why didn't we say that? Like, that's it.
We're so simple.
Go to course.quickmail.io and you're done.
That's right. And enjoy the path to easier outbound. It's still work, but it's certainly a lot of the pavement has been laid for you.
Well, cool. Jack, great cast, and I see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Bye.
Bye.